I'm looking good, I'm feeling good, I'm so fly.
All right, guys, here we go. Week 3. This week we're going to be talking about what type of exercise should I do. All right. Luckily for most of us, I'm pretty sure that we are all doing the right things, but we're going to be going over what we should be looking for and why. All right. Okay, so once again, you guys have seen this slide before. Remember that our metabolism is not a calculator, it is not a chemistry set, it is more like a stress barometer. It has definitely some qualities of the calculator model and the chemistry set, and the fact that calories do matter, and so do hormones. But really, what we need to be being aware of is the amount of stress that we are putting on our bodies, on our metabolism, because it is our bodies, our metabolism is constantly assessing the outside world, and based off the amount of stress, it is deciding on whether you are going to be building muscle or burning fat, basically. All right, as well as how well you're going to be digesting your food and nutrients and stuff like that. So our whole goal should be minimizing the amount of stress on our metabolism as much as possible, because once again, a body that is stressed is a body that does not lose body fat or gain muscle very well. All right, so the 4M's. So really the 4M's of my Fit Addicted method are the mindfulness, movement, meals, and metabolic. So just right now, just to give you an idea, is that we are in this metabolic portion. These are the 4 components that I believe are necessary for fat loss. All right, and it goes in, as far as what I'm concerned, I personally believe that it works like this, where really mindset and movement are at the base of the pyramid as far as importance goes, and then meals is next importance, and then metabolics is the least important. But we are tackling this in basically a reverse order, just because I know that most of you guys are basically training too much and don't really have your meals on point. And so we're going to start taking care of those first, because I know that's what you guys are looking for. But typically, depending on who I'm working with, I will assess what needs the most work in somebody's lifestyle. Like if they are training 5 hours a day, then yeah, I would probably start with metabolics and bring them down to 1 hour a day, and incorporate more mindfulness. But just remember that we need to set our body up for the ability to lose body fat. And how do we do that? Remember, we need to have as little stress on the body as possible. I mean, we just need to be making sure we are managing that. And how we can manage that is by incorporating mindfulness into our daily routine, so that we are putting our bodies in a position to actually lose the weight in the first place and be able to sustain the caloric deficit that we need to have. All right. But we are talking this week about this top piece. All right. So here's an example of your total daily energy expenditure, what they call TDEE. All right. We have it in your TDEE, so that's the total amount of calories that you're burning per day. And it's broken up into REE, which is your resting energy expenditure, which is really your non-adjustable portion of what you burn. You can't really change this, and it makes up 70% of your total calories. So this is really based on your size, how much muscle you have, your genetics. And so there's really not much you can do with that, except for maybe gain more muscle. But even that isn't going to move the needle all that much. Where we move our needle as far as, how we can, increase the energy expenditure and be able to lose more body fat is through this non-resting energy expenditure component, which is made up of NEAT, TEF, and EAT. Okay, and so NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And what that is just the things of daily living. So walking from point A to point B, cleaning the house, doing yard work, washing the dishes, taking a shower, dancing, fidgeting, standing up, walking to the water fountain. All those little tiny things is what makes up your NEAT. All right. Speaking of, I should probably go for a walk because I have been sitting here recording these things all day long. Anyways, but I mean, like, this is a great example of why to have like a stand-up desk, or, set a timer and get up and move every hour on the hour. Just do 1 minute of exercise, and really this is non-exercise activity though. Remember, this is not structured exercise. This is just movement stuff. All right. Then we have TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. So basically, we use calories to digest food. We are burning calories to digest food. Not that much though, okay? But there are certain foods that require a higher thermic effect. So, for example, protein and fiber require more energy to break them down. All right. So protein and fiber is something that is, I guess you can think of it as like it kind of burns more calories. All right. But really, it's like nothing. It's not like there is no such thing as a fat burning food, for example. Okay. But, it'll certainly make a difference if you're not eating any protein in your diet or veggies, and you start to add in a bunch of protein and veggies. You will raise your metabolic rate because of that large difference there. Okay. And then the last portion, which is what we are all also excited about and, prioritize in our day, is exercise activity thermogenesis. And so this is your CrossFit. This is your, your running, your jogging, your rowing, the biking. I mean, this is what we live and breathe for, right? But look, do you guys notice anything? Do you notice how small of an effect it actually has on your TDE? It's not that much. And that's what I want to talk about in this next slide. And I have the wrong, I did this wrong, okay? But just look at this, okay? So here's your non-adjustable part of the metabolism. It's 70%. Your basal metabolic rate is 70% of your, energy expenditure, the total calories burned. And that's just you at rest. That's you not doing anything, okay? Again, not much we can do there, all right? So NEAT, so this is the activities of daily living, makes up about 20% of the caloric expenditure. All right. The TEF, this should be, these are about the same, just so you know. So we have 70% here, and then up here in the adjustable portion is 30% left. These are about the same. It's supposed to be thermic effect of food and exercise activity thermogenesis. They're about the same. Like the exercise activity thermogenesis, so the calories that we burn from exercise, has been known to be about 5 to 10%. Okay, so it's going to be this top one up here. And probably on the higher side if you're doing CrossFit stuff. And NEAT is double that. So do you guys see why NEAT is so much more, is very important? And not only because of how many calories you burn, but here's the thing, guys, if you are putting all your energy into exercise activity thermogenesis, let's just say it's this one right here, 10%. When you exercise, you are stimulating your metabolism. When you are stimulating your metabolism, you are also stimulating your hunger. So a lot of times what people don't realize is that the 2-hour training that they do in the morning is what's causing the 2-hour binge at night. Okay? And they usually don't put that together. But let's say you were walking all day. Well, if you're just doing NEAT, if the majority of your activity is actually just non-exercise activity, you are not raising your stress levels. And when you don't raise your stress levels, you're not increasing your hunger levels. So you're able to eat a really low calorie diet, get lots of movement, burn lots of calories really easily, and not even feel like you're stressed about eating. Okay, because you don't have those hunger cues because you're not stimulating your metabolism like training does. All right. So we're going to dive deep into this in the next couple of weeks, but basically, NEAT is so important because like walking is so important because it lowers cortisol levels, it keeps your stress levels low, which allows you to suppress hunger and reduce cravings, so not seek out food. It improves your insulin sensitivity, which is something we'll go over. Again, it doesn't speed up hunger, and you're burning calories. Okay. So here's the thing. A lot of people say that we were built to run, but we were not built to run. We were built to move. Okay. We have two legs for a reason. We were meant to get from point A to point B. All right. But we weren't built to sit. We weren't built to run or to lift weights. We were built to just move. All right. So one thing that kind of piggybacking off of what I was talking about earlier about how, walking is so great for burning body fat because several reasons. So here's the thing. Anytime you do any type of activity, any type of exercise activity, you are raising cortisol levels. Okay. And, when you think of cortisol, I want you to think C for cravings and C for cortisol. So when cortisol goes up, for example, when you are exercising or when somebody, like slams on their brakes or you are getting you get the wrong coffee at Starbucks or something like that. Somebody ticks you off and you get really overwhelmed. Like all those things are raising your cortisol levels. All right. But any type of activity, if it's, CrossFit or even just going for like a super easy jog, those two things raise cortisol levels. And when you raise cortisol levels, you increase hunger and cravings. So think C for hunger and C for craving. So, and what we don't want is we do not want insulin and cortisol together. So if you are raising your cortisol levels by training or by like jogging, cortisol coupled with insulin, which is just food basically, okay, is very fat storing. All right. On the other hand, food coupled with something that's really low intensity like walking is very fat burning. Okay. And we're going to dive deep into what insulin is all about later on. But basically what I want you to understand here is that even if you're just going for a jog, let's say, because so many people say, oh, I'm just doing active recovery, I'm just going for a jog. Well, actually, when you do that, you are imposing more stress on the metabolism, even though it doesn't feel like it's more stress. And it's going to make it more difficult for you to burn body fat. What you would be better off doing is actually going for an hour-long walk instead of an hour-long jog on your rest days, because it will not increase your hunger levels. It will not increase your cravings. You'll be more likely to put yourself in a much greater caloric deficit without even trying, because you won't be hungry because your cortisol levels will be lower. And that will make you into a fat-burning machine, all right? All right, and then the third thing is I want you to understand that not all cortisol is bad. We do want cortisol when we are in the gym. We do not want cortisol when we are out of the gym. So we do want high cortisol when we're training heavy and hard, because heavy and hard training coupled with, so like cortisol coupled with heavy and hard training, so human growth hormone and testosterone, the effects that we get from heavy training equals muscle building. Okay. So I just want you to know that not all cortisol is bad. There is a time for cortisol. We want it highest in the gym. And when we are not in the gym, we want to be doing everything we can to lower our cortisol levels, so that we can be in a more fat burning state. All right, so basically this is kind of what I just said. Exactly, actually. We want high cortisol during the gym, during our exercise. Go heavy, go hard. That is going to stimulate the hormonal response for human growth hormone and testosterone for muscle building and fat burning. However, you need to be doing all of the things outside of the gym, which is probably the part that you are not doing. You're probably doing all of this and none of this, I'm assuming. All right. And we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can to reduce those cortisol at rest. So when we're not in the gym. So after the gym time, you're doing things like slow walking, meditating, breathing, sauna therapy. You're sitting out here like this chick, in the hammock, just peaceful, relaxing, like things where you are intentionally relaxing. And I don't mean like sitting in front of a TV or a computer screen, because that stuff can be relaxing for about 10 minutes, but then they've shown that it actually is very stimulating after that. So things in nature are said to be the best for reducing cortisol levels and bring you like that sense of peace and bliss. But we want to be really good at switching from here to here. We want to switch from high cortisol to low cortisol, from sympathetic state, go, 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 super tense, hypervigilant, like lifting heavy weights, super motivated, to relaxing, chilling, having a good time, smiling, breathing, hanging out with friends. Okay. So we want to get really good at switching between the two. So just as hard as you go in the gym, you really want to be going just as quote unquote hard out of the gym and relaxing. That's what they mean. All right. So as far as what kind of workouts you should be doing, we want to be looking for 4 different things in our workouts. All right. So the perfect fat burning workout is going to be one that contains the B's and the H's. All right. So it's going to be breathless, burning, heavy, and heat. So we want a breathless component from the workout, which it just stimulates, shows that there's a adrenaline response. Okay. We want a burning effect. So burning in our muscles, that burning effect we get there, which just is a hormonal response for human growth hormone. Okay. So for basically like muscle building, muscle toning. Heavy, we want the weight to be heavy enough to develop a testosterone response, so that we can build muscle. And then we want a heat component, which this one's kind of like, we just want getting hot and warm just shows that you are activating the sympathetic nervous system, typically. Okay. So these are the components that you want to be looking for in your workouts. They will develop the best results. And ideally, you want to be going hard. Like, the best workouts are going to be the ones where you go all out and rest. So very rest, hit interval based. And another thing about these kind of workouts, like it is much better than, let's say, a cardio workout, because you are burning calories beyond the workout that you beyond just that time that you're working out. So if we were doing cardio as your workout, just like jogging, going for an hour jog or something like that, as soon as you stop that jogging, you're going to stop burning those calories. Whereas if you did a 20-minute hit where you did in like intervals of go hard and rest, you will continue to burn calories beyond that time period of that workout, because your body has to use energy, use calories to recover and repair any damaged muscle tissue, and adapt to that stimulus. So there is a long recovery process that follows the heavier, harder workouts, where you're doing intervals versus something that's just cardio based and isn't developing that stimulus. All right, so a couple things to keep in mind when you are trying to recover as hard as possible, right? When you're trying to switch from that sympathetic state to that parasympathetic state, there's really only 3 types of exercise that doesn't raise cortisol levels, okay? So all exercise raises cortisol levels, even if you're going for a jog, even if you're going for a swim, even if you're doing like a really light, people are like, but Nat, I'm only going at like a 10-minute mile. Yeah, I know it's easy, but it doesn't matter what you think or how hard you think it is. Your metabolism registers it differently, all right? So just know that your metabolism doesn't give a shit about what you think, how hard it is, all right? It knows that it really likes walking, it likes restorative yoga, not hot yoga, and it likes Tai Chi. it feels like it can really calm down and relax and lose that tension, that metabolic tension that's in your body. So I suggest you do lots of these. All right, so this is something I actually already talked about. So traditional aerobic exercise, just your typical cardio stuff. Once you stop, the caloric burns stop. It is great. Traditional exercise is great. It has huge benefits for heart health and mood enhancement and depression. So if you love it, I totally think you should do it. But understand that you may be causing more disruption and making it more challenging for yourself to lose body fat by doing it. All right. So, for example, what I said here is if you're not getting results, then I don't recommend you do it. Okay. If you're doing all this extra cardio and you're not seeing any benefit from it, just change it to walking. Choose to walk or do Tai Chi or restorative yoga instead of the jog or whatever cardio you're doing. All right. And keep in mind that just because you like something doesn't mean that you're actually going to get results from it. So just because you like to jog doesn't mean that you're going to look like a jogger, and that you're going to get the results from that. So you may need to, just because you like lifting weights doesn't mean that you're going to, look super lean. So it's just, you can't always think that just because you like it, you're going to see results from it. All right, so biggest question is, you got to ask yourself, is it working for you? So if you do really love cardio, if you love doing, rowing, jogging, stuff like that, long, drawn out stuff, this is something different than like sprints, So I'm talking like more like aerobic work, not like HIIT, like intervals, not like 1 minute on and 1 minute off. Like that's a lot more intense. But I'm talking like long aerobic training. So, just understand that, you would be better off doing sprints, okay? And understand that if you are doing long aerobic stuff, that this can increase your hunger and increase your cravings. I mean, so can sprint like work too. But I just want you to understand that like even on your rest days when you're, suppose you're doing active recovery, quote unquote, and you can't hold on to those EL days, well, you might want to take a look and see if this aerobic training is increasing your hunger and increasing your cravings and resulting in you over-consuming calories, okay, as a result of doing the exercise. And this may be the case if you're doing too much exercise as well. Like if you're just doing multiple hours a day and you feel hungry and you're not able to hit your macros, and you're not getting results, well, then you're probably just doing too much training. You need to pull back. You're just putting too much stress on the metabolism. So, again, you may be better off not doing it, and you will know if it's working for you. So, and you'll know that if your heck is in check. Heck is in check, then you're good. Okay. But are you also seeing results? If your heck is in check and you're not seeing results, then I would probably suggest you play around with that. All right, so best exercise for fat loss. Again, to look good, we want a combination of both lifting and aerobic. So both are good, okay? It's just we don't want to do one or the other. We want a combination of them. And you can do this either way. You can either alternate between lifting days and aerobic days. So you do like a bodybuilding session, a bro fit session one day, and then you do aerobic training the next. Or you can combine both at the same time and do like a Metcon type of stuff, like CrossFit or, HIIT stuff. And that seems to be sort of the best of both worlds, I feel like. But if you really enjoy aerobic training, then go ahead and do aerobic, but make sure every other day that you are lifting weights as well. Oh, and then there's an exercise myth. People think that if they do a certain activity that they're going to look a certain way. And the thing is, people don't look the way they look because of what they do. They do what they do because of the way they look. Like marathoners don't look the way that they do. Marathoners don't look the way they look because of what they do. They were already naturally thin. They were already naturally built to run marathons. And no matter how hard a marathoner might try to build muscle to become a football player, chances are they'll probably never become the size of a football player, okay? And same goes for a football player. Like no matter how hard he starts to run his miles, he will probably, like a big football player, is just never going to look like a marathon runner. So you just got to understand that, okay? That really you got to understand, like, what is your body composition right now, and understand that, like for me, like I'm short and kind of smaller, so I'm naturally just going to be better at like gymnastic stuff, and I'm not going to be very good at like swimming or basketball, anything like that. So just keep that in mind. All right, so review, NEAT versus EAT. Remember, non-exercise activity is about 20% of your total daily expenditure, caloric expenditure, whereas exercise activity, thermogenesis, is 5 to 10%. So like walking versus exercise. So you're getting a way bigger payoff off NEAT activities, and it's not stimulating your hunger. Metabolics, remember, any type of structured exercise speeds the metabolism, and which also speeds up the hunger. So anything that speeds the metabolism, whether it be exercise or like drugs or stimulants, also speeds up hunger. All right, so and then we want high cortisol levels during exercise when we're in the gym, but remember, we want to minimize cortisol as much as possible when we are outside of the gym. So train hard when you're in the gym, go crazy. Well, we'll talk about how crazy to go, okay? We actually want to talk about that. So we don't want to go crazy every single day, but just understand that, high cortisol is fine during exercise. Low cortisol is what we're looking for at rest, so we want to be doing as much as we can to minimize stress after the gym. And remember that those three things that lower cortisol the best are going to be slow walking, especially in green settings, Tai Chi, and restorative yoga. All right. Weight training will allow you to maintain and gain muscle, and also allow you to burn body fat. And the combination of lifting and short, intense cardio seems to be the best for fat burning.